Hello, everyone. Um, I'm here. It's very early this morning on the 13th of January 2021. I may have mentioned to you before that I'm American. I live in a small town in Iowa, a small city called Waterloo, Iowa. So, as my fellow Americans and everyone else can probably imagine, um, since the 6th of January this year, it's been just one long stream of anxiety-filled days so far. And, many people, I myself, uh, watching the events on television and mass media and waiting to hear for answers. Summer coming through, um, and some things are being addressed. You know, after the insurrection against our congressional leaders in session in Congress on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., on January 6th, 2021. So, anyway, while I was waiting, I thought I'd come up here and read a poem. So, I will read a poem now. This is a poem by Joy Harrow, and the title of it is Resurrection. Estelle. This mountain town means something, like the glass stars. Your Spanish tongue will not be silent in my volcano heart. Soldiers pace, watch over what they fear. One pretty one leans against his girlfriend. They make promises, plan to meet somewhere else in this war. Not far down the fevered street, a trace of calypso, laughter from a cantina. We are all in a balloon that's about to split. Candles make oblique circles in the Barrio church, line the walls with prayers. An Aboriginal woman as old as Momotombo fingers obsidian, recalls dreams, waits for the light to begin to break. I don't imagine anything. Lizards chase themselves all night over the tin roof of the motel. I rock in a barrage of fever, feel the breathing sweat, whole town stop, pause, and begin again. I have no damned word. to make violence fit neatly, like wrapped packages of meat to contain us safely. The songs here speak tenderly of honor and love. Sweet melody is the undercurrent of gunfire. Yet the wounded and the dead call out in words that sting like bitter lines. As the women who have given away the clothes of their dead children. Ask the frozen soul of a man who was found buried in the hole left by his missing penis. They are talking yet. The night could change. We all watch for fire, for all the fallen dead to return and teach us a language so terrible it could resurrect us all. I wonder if that picked up on my microphone. Sometimes EVP picks up on my microphone, if you notice. That one sounded pretty loud. Male voice. There. That I could hear. But Ed, he was screaming for Jesus. Interesting. Jesus always comes to save us. Jesus always comes to save us. I don't know about that guy, but I don't know about that guy. But, but Jesus always comes to save us. So I can only speak for myself. Been really nerve-wracking today. I thought that, like everyone else, I was waiting to find out if Mike Pence was going to invoke the 25th Amendment, and he did not, even though I was waiting, just white knuckled on the edge of my seat, on my face, waiting to find out today. I didn't really think that that was going to happen anyway, but even so, when the announcement came out, they issued a statement and they read it. It was like a blow. It was like a physical blow. I was like, oh. And it was really upsetting. But, I thought about it some more and then Mike Pence did come back up and issue further statements regarding his decision. And he said it's because the 25th Amendment isn't written to punish a president, is why I won't invoke it. He's got a point because the 25th Amendment, well, it would be the vice president and the vice president alone who it would fall to invoke the 25th Amendment. And even if he invokes it, he has to get it by vote to pass through the cabinet, and a majority cabinet has to agree with the vice president, who is required to set forth the legal terms and also provide professionals, including doctors and psychiatrists, people of that nature, and any other professionals that they need to consult with, who must also have the professional opinion that the the president can no longer act as president for health reasons, including mental illness, which is the nature of the 25th Amendment. It really is. It's, so the vice president themselves, that person, whether they're a man or a woman, is the one who would invoke the 25th if they needed to. And yet at the same time, it's just the one who stands up and says, you know, the doctors, I have noticed myself that the condition, the physical condition, the health condition of the president, and or the mental health of the president has become so bad that it's an impediment to them performing the duties of their office. And their office and the performance of their duties of office is suffering too badly for them to continue. So that they have to provide that statement in themselves. And then they have to go up and they have to have the doctors in it agree with what they say and find that that is so medically. And then the cabinet has to listen, has to vote, and the vice president has to get the majority vote from the cabinet to go ahead and have the president removed and have the vice president put the remainder of the term, which is 7 days now. So that's the reason why he decided not to do that. He said because that amendment exists not to punish president for crimes, but to be there as a fail-safe in case our president gets sick or even develops a mental health issue, a condition, a medical condition prevents them from continuing. So, you gotta admit Mike Pence got a point. Just would have been the easy way. Now, since that didn't happen, now Congress has to issue articles of impeachment and write their own amendment because of what Donald Trump did. That's going to go into the record of the amendments, like the 25th is already one because of stuff that happened earlier, to our presidents becoming sick. Yeah. Uh, like when Eisenhower that was stricken by polio, and eventually, even though he survived polio pandemic, he was in a wheelchair at the end, sick to continue, and they had and the whole time that he was sick and everything, his first lady had also helped up and help him with his duties and everything, and it was too much. So they had to do it that way. So now Congress is gonna have to do it, and that's gonna take longer. But, since we found out what we found out tonight, we also know that that, um in writing their own amendment, you know, that gives them leeway to be, like, really specific about what, in inciting the insurrection against the government. So, they've got a little bit better cross-party answer to go by on that, and I know that it's really frustrating for everyone, watching and everything, and everyone's really angry, you know, sitting here watching this and calling for our leaders to do things, and yet, the process must be taken one step at a time. People have to rein that in, okay, and not give in to the anger and frustration, and focus and pay attention because it is really hard. I mean, I've already lost my temper in my comments online so far, like, you know, and I'm not a person that loses her temper really quickly, but oh God, no, you know, listening to it because you know the media, different media outlets and stuff are really, really content to give sketchy information that is preliminary, get things wrong, and then, leave it on a note that is really insidious, in the way like the Attorney General of Washington, D.C. was on this one program, and they were interviewing him. And, the questions of the interviewer was designed because he had just come out and he had to make the charge of inciting violence against Donald Trump. And you know that Washington, D.C. is a city state. It's the only one we have in the United States. but the Attorney General of Washington, D.C. had to come up and be like, charge against him is inciting violence. And then immediately that same interviewer issued the erroneous statement that Congress had also, in the article of impeachment, chosen to go with inciting violence. And that is not what the article of impeachment says. Okay. That's not what the Senate, not what Congress decided to introduce as their articles of impeachment. Number one. So that was an error, you know. And then they left it on the note, they're talking to the mayor, not the mayor, I keep saying mayor, it's the attorney general of Washington, D.C. And so they're talking to the attorney general of Washington, D.C., and they want to leave it on the note. It's like, you just charged him with inciting violence because of the fact, constitutionally, that the president cannot be prosecuted, right? And he's like, yeah, yeah, that's why. But, that doesn't really have anything to do with anything. And then they want to leave it on that note to, sensationalism on. Also further the anti-government agenda of the insurrectionists and the Trump followers, and really making people mad. And the thing is that that's true. But if you look at it, if you really are educated about what the Constitution says, it does read that, in fact, but the reason why that is because a president can't be prosecuted by the police of a city or state. The president must be impeached by Congress, you see. So actually, the matter of fact is like what the Attorney General for Washington, D.C. was talking about, even though it was all true what he was saying, and the answering of the interviewer's questions is that, but we don't prosecute the president. That's not what we do. Yeah. We prosecute people in the city who aren't government officials, especially not the president. That's not their job. That's not what they do. That's what Congress would do should the president need to be impeached. So, there's a lot of that out there in multimedia right now and mass media going on. It's just inciting people, and that after watching that interview, and I was like, oh no, this is fucked. This is totally screwed, And because I allowed myself to give in to anger, which is delusional in the first, you but it's it's like a stress endurance marathon everyone's running right now. So people are really upset, and you know just watching it, and it's really nerve wracking for everybody. You know, as you can imagine, if you're not from your country, it's really hard. But bottom line is they're gonna have to go about it the long way around now. Which on one hand takes a slightly larger majority to complete, right? And yet there are infinitely more people in the Senate and the House of Representatives than there are on Donald Trump's cabinet. And if I'm not mistaken, Donald Trump's cabinet members are made up of like Sr. and Don Jr. and Jared Kushner and people like that, you know. So the fact that Mike wouldn't invoke the 25th is a lot more rational than than people would, you know, think. And and I was thinking out loud tonight. I was thinking, you know, like there were cabinet members that resigned, you know, and that's kind of obvious to see. To me, that was kind of obvious why they took out, why they left. They were like, yeah, yeah, like the president and the vice president and their cabinet like are caught between Donald Trump and Congress. You could say you could make the analogy almost like a hostage situation, like almost like a virtual hostage situation that you know didn't take Donald Trump standing there with a gun to like take him, you know, but the way that he's got it set up, it's kind of like that, you know. And because of that, I was thinking tonight, I was like, after those other guys resigned, Donald Trump refused to resign, which led to the ultimatum being issued by Congress. Uh, to Mike Pence that he invoked the 25th, or else they were going to impeach. I was like, and then those cabinet members, you know, like Mitch McConnell's wife quit, and the director of Homeland Security, his last name is Wolf, he quit, and someone else quit, and I'm like, you know, but still at the same time, you can't blame them, you know, and you got to admit that for someone like Mitch McConnell's wife, that it's if she is giving up, resigning from her cabinet, her presidential cabinet position for the Department of Transportation, she felt like she had to resign that position like 8 or 9 days before the end of her term. I mean, come on, you guys, how bad is that? You know, how bad is that? And so it goes, you know. So I was thinking, like, what if Mike Pence resigned? You know, what would happen then? Because I'm watching today and I'm watching like news media and other media, especially media that gives themselves format of being like informational or even news type information, at the very least, like informational shows, like shows, you know, like The View. And I'm sitting there listening to really, really reasonable, really, really intelligent people make really, really big mistakes with their public statements on camera that are not true. You know, like, you know, Joy Bear on The View, like within the last couple days, you know, yeah, well, Mike Pence is in charge of the country. Wrong. No, 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 no. Mike Pence is in charge of Mike Pence being the vice president of our country. That's what Mike Pence is in charge of. He is not our acting president of the United States. Now, if the 25th Amendment would have been invoked, if the experts would have given their assertion, if the cabinet members would have listened, if they would have voted, if they would have by majority voted to have Donald Trump in office at that point for these reasons, and Mike Pence be put in his place before Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's inauguration and peaceful transfer of power, then Mike Pence would have been acting as president in the interim before Joe Biden, his administration. But no, you know, so there's a lot of misconceptions and just flat out mistakes being made in the media with people who, you know, aren't unintelligent people. Like the attorney general of Washington D.C., who is like not sticking up for Donald Trump by saying, "But the president can't be prosecuted." That's right. You know, he's just doing his job, and yet, you know, they're. But of course, true to form, Donald Trump, as soon as Mike Pence said, "We're not invoking the 25th," he stood right up there and said, see, it's because everything I did was justified, and there was nothing wrong with anything I did, you know, and yeah, it's very it incites people when he does that, you know. It makes people really angry because it's like, you know, just really. But what I was thinking, I was like, so just hypothetically, what would happen if Mike Pence would have chosen to resign? Which I don't think that he should. I'm not trying to say that in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying, you know, that would have been like all of us Americans trapped on the Starship Enterprise. And like Donald Trump was Jean-Luc Picard, and he lost his mind and started attacking all of the officers on board of the Starship Enterprise and killing the civilians on board with them. And then, you know, and then, you know, he looked over at the number one and said, "Raise shields." And number one would just turn around and look at him and be like, "No, fuck you. I'm not raising shields anymore. As a matter of fact, I'm fucking leaving." And just like got up from his seat on the bridge and just walked off to the escape emergency hatch and pushed the button and just jumped off the Enterprise. And then, you know, like everybody else, you know, Uhura, oh wait, that's old Star Trek. But Nina or whatever her name was, and like Spock would have come running up and they would have been like, you know, how the fuck are we supposed to avoid that? How in the hell are we supposed to raise shields? He always like doesn't he like push the button over here somehow to raise them and fire for photon torpedo. Hang on, we don't know what button that is, you know. So that's what it would have been like. I'm sure, even though it would have made Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. He's a Democrat. So here we are. I mean, I'm pretty sure off the top of my head, that's what the implications. I was just being hypothetical there. You know, it would have been like really bad. Yeah, everybody fighting, arguing, and yeah, so you can imagine. It. Long story short, it means that all of our elected officials are you know, this is obviously not like so many people, you know, that work for the government, that are government officials have stated whether they're Republicans or not, and just said, well, we just want it to all go away. We just want it to be over in like 7 days. And just, it's not going to be over. And you still have to do your job. And the people that aren't returning as incumbents that are Senate elect, and presidential and have won their seat in the government and the administration. They they're gonna have to do their job, and it really sucks for them, I imagine, because they ran their campaigns for their election on a platform of something civic minded for their state district that they represent, and they've got their agenda, and there's never enough time to get to it all. And now this. But, you know, they really need to quit complaining about the job that they wanted. You know, they didn't just state that they didn't just put in their application. They, campaigned for it. They spent a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort to get themselves elected. So you gotta have to do your job. Anyway, so that's that. I might come back later. Have a nice day.